Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. How are you? Hope all of you will be fine and are taking good care of your health. Today, lecture number 7 from chapter 3, that is reproduction in plants. Here we will discuss about parts of a flower, pollination, kinds of pollination and agents of pollination. So, first of all, we start from parts of a flower. Dear students, most flowers have four main parts, that is sepals, petals, stamens and carpels. Green sepals protect the flower from the sun and rain in bud form. The colored petals attract insects and other animals for the pollination of the flower. Stamens are the male parts of a flower. Each stamen has a filament and an anther. Pollen grains are produced in anthers. Carpels are the female parts of a flower. Each carpel has a sticky stigma, a style and an ovary. Ovules are present in the ovary. So this is about parts of. The next one is pollination. Pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of a flower to the stigma of the carpel is called pollination. Students, with the help of this process, the male sex cell, which is also known as sperm, reaches to the female sex cells, which is also known as egg. Sex cells are also called gametes. Wind, insects, animals and water are the agents for pollination in different plants. So the kinds of pollination. Dear students, there are two kinds of pollination, that is self-pollination and cross-pollination. In self-pollination, the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or another flower on the same plant is called self-pollination. The plants where self-pollination takes place are pea, tomato, rice plants, etc. Cross-pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of a flower to the stigma of a flower on another plant of the same kind is called cross-pollination. The plants where cross-pollination takes place are poplar, willow, apple, papaya trees, etc. Dear students, for cross-pollination, the plants must grow flowers at the same time. Cross-pollination usually happens in plants near each other. Cross-pollination produces stronger plants as compared to the self-pollination. Some flowers have special features that favor cross-pollination, for example, colored petals, long and sticky stigmas, nectar and fragrance. Next one is agents of pollination or pollinators. Dear students, the agents that carry pollen grains from the anthers of flowers to the stigmas are called pollinators. Wind, insects, birds and bats, etc. are a few pollinators. So the pollination takes place by wind, by animals and by water. So let's see pollination by wind. The wind picks up pollen grains from one flower and blows it onto another. Wind pollinated plants have long stamens and carpels. Most grasses depend upon wind for their pollination. So pollination by insects or animals. Insects and some other animals can also transfer pollen grains when they move from one flower to the other. Bright colored petals, charming shapes, nectar gourds, and pleasant smell attract animals towards flowers. Pollen grains have rough and sticky surfaces due to which they stick to animal bodies. So, pollination by water. Pollination by water is not common, but a few plants release their pollen grains into the water. The pollen grains move slowly along the water currents and reach other aquatic plants. Hydrilla, Vallisneria, etc. are water pollinated plants. So this is the end of. Now it is time to home assignment. In this assignment you have to define some short questions. What are the male and female parts of a flower? Define pollination. Name a few pollinators, and a long question. Write a detailed note on pollination in plants. You may take help of these assignments or notes which you have provided. So thank you so much students. Allah bless you all.